Hi everyone. I hope you're all having a good start to your weekend. It's already noon on Friday and I'm calling it the weekend, but what is anything anymore? But hi, I'm Brittany. I'm back with another creative conversation. I'm excited today. We're chatting with Michael J. Metzner, who is a really interesting dude. He actually has a job that a lot of people might not know exists. Because he is a surgeon. He has an MD. He is also a producer. And so he has actually worked on a lot of amazing shows that I am personally a fan of, like Grey's Anatomy and Perry Mason and American Horror Story and a bunch of other cool stuff. But he is a producer and a medical advisor, but we can talk more about that. So first of all, before you do anything, well, actually maybe watch this and then go sign it. The whole reason why we do this is because we are trying to get more arts education in the school. And I'm just going to pin this really quick. Please sign. This is really interesting, just watching me type slowly. Okay. I do this every single time, and it still takes me forever to type it up. I'm like 100 years old whenever I do internet stuff. It just made me sound that old. Oops. Okay. Sorry. Technology. Wait, did the link work? I think so. Anyways, sorry. That was a slow start. But yes, go. I just pinned the comment in the comments. And so go to createca.org to sign the pledge. That way we can make an actual difference and take action and make the schools better in California. That we need arts in the schools. And yeah, okay, let's bring on our guest. I just saw that he requested. Sorry, Michael. I was trying to type and apparently I can't do two things at once, but we already knew that.
Hey.
Hi!
Hi.
Sorry for the technical difficulties
No, it's
before
okay.
and during.
Sorry about the quarantine hair.
Oh, I actually dyed my own hair and it's like lighter here, and darker in the middle. So your hair looks fantastic. It's nice to meet you. Actually, your hair does look great.
Thank you.
You do have a wonderful head of hair. Look at that.
There's a lot of there right now, but that's okay.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Of course. Of course.
I am Matt, our mutual friend. He has told me about you before.
Yep.
And I've always thought that you're such an interesting person. And as you saw, because you've been on this, I was saying that a lot of people probably don't even know that they know that your MD job exists, but they probably don't know about one of your main professions, which is being a medical advisor and producer on a TV show.
Yeah, I actually didn't know it existed myself.
Oh, cool. See? Okay, there you go. But yeah, so Michael he works on, your current show is Grey's Anatomy and Perry Mason?
It's actually Grey's Anatomy and Station 19.
Station 19.
Yeah, we wrapped production on season 1 of Perry Mason, so I did a couple episodes for that.
I actually, not in research, just by coincidence, I watched a couple episodes the other night and I really, really loved the show a lot.
Yeah, it's amazing. Actually, doing period pieces, it's like one of my favorite things because I get to learn in back 40s and how they did it so differently.
Oh, I didn't even, yeah, of course, because the medical profession was far, far different. 70 years ago or 8 years ago? What year is it? It's 2020.
2020, about 60 years ago.
Yeah. I always put the date at the year 2000 and then I just calculate from there and then I have to forget that years have added on since 2000. I don't know why that's like my marker in my head.
I do the same thing.
But obviously, I'm so sorry. I don't know if my puppy was making noise. She's still 9 months and is wonderful, but she's a little pest. So someone like you, where you ride both sides, you are an incredibly creative person, and you're also a very technical, medical, all of the other sides of the brain type of person. And you found an incredible way to meet those things together. And I love on your Instagram page, oh shoot, what was it? It was about how like you've made a life for yourself where you get to be you get to be creative and in the sciences.
Yep.
And that kind of makes you extra perfect to talk to with Create TA, because we're obviously trying to encourage more arts education. And one of the things that we like to say is that arts education is important for people who want to go into the arts, but it's also really important for people who don't want to go into the arts, because if you have an arts education, it automatically makes you a better student in all other subjects as well, like maths and sciences and everything else. And I'm sure that applies to you. So you obviously went to a lot of school since you are a doctor.
Yeah.
You went to three, oh no, you went to 2 schools and you have a residency in Texas. Is that right?
Correct. So I actually have a double major in biochemistry and art.
Amazing. Yeah. Cool. Could you tell me like how you got there? And I mean, obviously school's a big part of your life, education is. And
yeah, so it's funny. I started out as truly just an artist. I've been in TV, film, theater since I was in kindergarten.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely loved it. Then did fashion photography, had a freelance fashion business, which I got to study in France, and was with SCAD over there, Savannah College of Art and Design, which was absolutely amazing.
Oh, what part of France?
In Provence.
Oh, cool. I haven't been to that part. That's so cool.
It's so beautiful. So, collectively, I probably spent about a year there. And that was just an eye-opening experience. And while I was actually in France, I was applying to medical school.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, it was funny. I was doing like photography classes, and then at night I'd be doing my secondary applications for medical school.
Wow. You're an ambitious person.
And then went to medical school, but always going into medicine, trying to find a way that I could pretty much unite my 2 passions of the arts and medicine. So created a art organization in medical school, started an art literary journal for medical students and physicians to kind of express themselves, wrote a play while I was in medical school.
Oh, cool.
Then graduated med school, went to surgery residency, was there wanting to do plastics, where I was going to do pediatric reconstructive surgery, because I thought, oh, that's super uniting the 2 fields. And then got an opportunity to become what's called a medical communications fellow at Grey's Anatomy. ABC was looking for someone to come in, work with the writers, and help develop more medical stories. And so I actually came out, I moved to California, a 3-month contract, and I haven't left.
Oh, cool.
I'm going into my 3rd season of Grey's Anatomy. So.
Oh, that's awesome. You guys have long seasons too. Don't you do like 24 episodes a season?
25.
25?
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys go all year or almost all year?
Almost all year. Pre-production, I mean, in the writer's room, we'll start on a normal season, not this season, but a normal season start in May, June, have a couple weeks off. Production would start in late July. We go all the way through fall. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
The last show I was on, we had 13 episode seasons. So I'm used to working for 5 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And then doing something else entirely.
It's a whirlwind.
Yeah, totally. So how did ABC approach? So when you were in school, or when you were in residency, did they just find out that you were this like creative person that started 10 journals and also was reconstructing faces, and they wanted you? How did that happen?
So they actually, it's open to any general surgery resident. We actually always have a fellow. It's every 3 months, every 3 to 6 months. This program is open to any general surgery resident.
Okay, cool.
Or surgery resident. And they apply and you get interviewed. And I'll never forget, I was on the phone with a couple of the executive producers, and they're like, oh, you're a weirdo like us, because the team that I work with, they're physicians as well. We have 3 full-time physicians on staff.
On Grace?
Zoanne Clack, who's an executive producer, myself, I'm associate producer, and then Nasser Azari, who is also a medical advisor. And then we have this fellow. So I got there and we just jived, and one thing led to another, and I haven't left.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you start as an associate producer, or did you come on and then you work? That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Is that normal for someone to come on in your capacity and then move up and then also be a producer in conjunction?
No.
Cool.
I've been very, very fortunate and have a lot of amazing mentors.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been kind of a snowball effect. Then Ryan Murphy's people.
Because you worked on Hollywood as well, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
I got to do Hollywood. I did another project, Ratchet, which hasn't been released yet, with Sarah
Cool.
Paulson, and I cannot wait.
Oh, I love her. I don't know her. I just love her existence.
Yeah, I love her. So I'm super excited for that project to come out because that was a lot of medicine and all in the 40s. So.
Oh, cool. I love period pieces.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's why I started watching Perry Mason. That's amazing that you came on as a medical advisor or consultant. Are those pretty much the same?
Yeah, I mean, they're interchangeable. Yeah, I came in a limited capacity as like a 3-month short-term fellow, and it worked out.
That's amazing. So obviously, I would say, I'm going to ask a question. I'm like, this is such a leading question. Would you say that your education in the arts is what helped you also become a producer on a narrative show? Because obviously being a producer of a narrative television show and being a medical doctor are two entirely different things. And so for you to be able to cross that line and do both at an incredibly high level is really impressive. So yeah, I mean, would you say like how much of your education came into it? Obviously you created a lot of your own stuff, your own companies, but did education figure into that?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that was a recurring theme throughout my education, all the way back to high school, was I was always told you're going to have to choose between being an artist and being a scientist. It's crazy how very actually instrumental people in my own education, they always are like, you can't do both. It's not possible. And my response to them, it's going to be possible. And that was that was really one of my passions. I wasn't going to choose just to be a doctor, just to be an artist. And so at each part of my education, I tried to stay as true to that as possible. And I remember in my medical school interviews and my residency interviews, they always were like, why is an artist going to medical school? Why do you want to become a surgeon? And my response always was, artists are the best doctors because in art school you learn how to creatively think and observe the world in a way that no one's ever observed the world.
Yes.
And be able to communicate those things. And let's say a physician, your job is to enter a room, make a connection with the person, and then observe the symptom, physical exam of that person, synthesize that information, and then come up with a treatment and diagnosis. That's pretty much an artist. It's all about observation and looking at that minutia that most people wouldn't actually think about. Yeah. And so using that, my art background has truly helped me propel within the medical community.
Wow, that was incredibly well said. And yeah, wow, doctors really are artists, the most important ones at the end of the day. And you're also, you find ways to use your art to be philanthropic. Have you played the piano in a hospital? Did I read that right?
So yeah, I play piano, saxophone, clarinet, love music. Right.
Wow, I feel so lazy right now. I mean, you're a surgeon and a producer, and you play 13 instruments, and I'm like, hopefully I get in 1 hour of writing today. That would be really productive. But anyways, sorry.
When I was in medical school, one of my huge things was to bring music into the hospital environment because I believe that music has a very healing power.
Absolutely.
And so I actually facilitated donations of grand pianos from different organizations or individuals who just didn't need that piano anymore. And I put them actually into the lobbies of hospitals. And so it created such a beautiful environment where physicians would come during their break and they would play. One of the children's hospitals that we put it into in Orlando, they actually started having recitals on the weekend for the kids.
Oh my gosh.
it truly transformed this entire hospital just with a simple piano. So
Yeah.
I was able to do it in 4 different roles, and um,
That's
yeah, it was
amazing.
really fun.
Art really does transform though, and there is something like very healing about music. And I've spent some time at Cedar Sinai in LA, and they have a grand piano in their lobby. And sometimes we'll be in there, and someone will just like in the middle of the day for no reason, someone will just start playing, and it just really transforms the space. And whether you're just there for something casual or something more serious, like just kind of having that in your soul and hearing music makes such a big difference, which is why the arts are important. And which is why, like, brings us back to Create California. It blows my mind that the arts aren't more of a priority, because like uh, you know, our sciences and our maths and everything are important, but like it's, you know, it's the cheesy saying, but it's true. It's the arts that really, like, if you that make life worth living, and you know,
Yeah,
in this heightened cheesy sense, but it's true. Like you need all of these things. And I mean, arts, when you get an arts education, you're I think you're 5 times more likely to graduate from high school. You're 3 times more likely to get a bachelor's degree, like no matter what route you go. Or if you go, you know, 10 different routes like you've gone, like at the same time, it just helps. And so
100.
yeah, I want to remind people to, I pinned it, but go to createca.org to sign the pledge. We can make an actual difference. Like that's actually making the school boards and the law. I mean, the laws in California already are that you need an arts education, but only 12% of California schools actually follow through with that, even though it is the
That's crazy.
law.
Yeah,
Isn't that
that's
crazy?
crazy. And looking back on history, I mean, the original science, like Leonardo da Vinci, I mean, it's
Yes.
amazing looking at the historical aspects of science and medicine and art. Like, these people were all the same.
Yes.
They
Yes.
were the ones who were doing their own drawings. And, you know, there was a time and period where then someone decided, oh, well, the arts and sciences are completely separate entities, and kind of have run with that for the
Yep.
last couple of centuries, which is absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
But it's so important because it does apply to every aspect of STEM. I mean, truly, you can't really name one science that would not benefit in art education.
Absolutely. And like you were saying, like being a surgeon or a doctor, or whether you're doing a surgery yourself or at the time, or you're talking to a patient, um, having a creative mind and using creativity to solve problems, just literally you look at problems differently when you're a creative thinker. And there's quite literally more options. Like creative options means more options, and it just makes, oh God, I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir with you here, but it just makes so much sense. Oh God, I was just going off on a tangent and I forgot what I was going to say. So I think my dog was just sneezing. You made short films when you were younger, right?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. When I was
That
in,
face, I want to know why.
it's funny. While I was in France, my roommate was a filmmaker, and you know,
Do you speak
as I was,
French too?
no, he wasn't French. He was
No, do
American.
you speak French?
Oh, I speak. Yeah, je
I
parle.
have, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Uh, but we're living together, and he's just like, I was applying to medical school, and it's like, man, you really need to be a producer. And I'm like, I don't know anything. Like, I did acting and all that stuff, but I know nothing about producing. And he's like, one day I'll tell you, you're going to be a producer. So fast forward 6 months, I'm in medical school, and he was doing a short, and he's like, hey, you want to try and help produce this short? And so I was like, okay, well, I don't know, I'm good with people, so I guess I'm good getting money.
Yeah, totally.
And I raised like $30,000 in like a month or two, and funded that project. And then I did
Amazing.
nothing to work, and it was just like, you know, it was crazy. I was studying my medical school material while on set, and he well, and now that's kind of my life. It's
That's
just
amazing.
so.
It's
Yeah.
funny. It is a creative. I started producing too recently, a couple years ago, and I've been acting. Acting's been my thing for like 20 years now. I started producing a couple years ago, and it is. There's parts of it that you're like, of course it's creative. You're a producer of film and or TV or theater or whatever it is. But then there's other elements of it, like you said, like getting money. That also like you think it's like very like logical and numbers and Excel sheets, but like it's hard to get money, and like being able to find creative ways to do it makes it so much
Yeah.
easier. And yeah, it's like creative solutions to more like technical problems, not problems, but you know what I mean.
Definitely.
And yeah, the getting money part, man, it does take a certain
Yeah.
creative skill to do that, not
Yeah.
weirdly and uncomfortably sometimes
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
The first time I had to raise money for a film, I was like, oh, this is so awkward sometimes.
It can be very awkward.
So I was a little bit bolder. So just because obviously everyone, Grey's Anatomy is such a huge show. I feel like we should talk about that a little bit more. Do you have any anecdotes from set where like there was a specific time, or maybe not on set, maybe in pre-production or something, where you felt like there was a moment of like, oh my God, I know this thing because I'm a doctor, but also from my days in France as a photographer or this or that, where like there was like this cool moment where like you were the one who came up with an idea or solved something because those two sides of you came together? I know it's such a weirdly specific question.
Yeah, I think the creative part, I have examples of, sometimes we'll be working on a storyline. It's really just simply a word or a theme that we're going off of. One that I always say is, I was approached by one of the writers, and they were like, okay, we're doing something based off of the theme detached. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll do a wandering spleen, of course. And they're like, okay, what's that? And I'm like, well, it's a spleen that's detached from the abdominal wall. And they're like, okay, well, can we make it more dramatic? And yeah, so what can happen is that it can actually, the spleen, because it's attached, it can turn on itself and then actually torse, and then the blood supply is out, and it's really bad. And they go, okay, make it worse. I was like, well, it actually occurs more commonly in pregnant women.
Oh God.
So then they're like, okay. And I'm like, and it's just like a snowball. And then, yeah, and then the spleen could just kind of erupt because it has very weak walls because it doesn't have blood. And then the person can bleed out. And then we ended up saving the baby. This was 2 seasons ago. That was one of our patients. But yeah, it's pretty fun what I do.
That sounds like the inside of my brain all the time, but with everything and not with logical science behind it. I'm like, this could go wrong, and then this could go wrong, but then the worst case, most dramatic scenario is this, and that's what my brain sounds like. Yeah. It's horrifying, but I'm glad that you can apply it to an actual purpose.
Yeah, and then I mean, in other ways, like I definitely help make the show maybe a little bit more efficient in ways where then my analytical brain kicks in and trying to make sure that everyone on props on set and the medical team and costume and makeup, everyone's on the same page. So I've created different flows, I guess you could say, within the set. And now it's like built into the way that we do things to make it more efficient.
That's awesome. I've almost been on that show a few times. How dare you? I know exactly what the room looks like. I mean, I don't know if I should say. Do people know where it shoots?
Well, yeah, it's funny. You would never know that that's where we shoot.
No, I know. I love that neighborhood, though.
I love it. It's so nice.
It's been a while. I auditioned for it a lot. I love the casting directors, and I've gotten like so close so many times. I know if there's one audition, just speaking about medical stuff, it was very stupid and minor. But the last audition I had there, it's not because of this reason. I was just like sick as a dog. I just had like the nasty cold, and I remember I went in, and I know the casting directors a little bit, and I was like, hey, I'm sorry, like I could like say something. I was like, I feel this was years ago. This was not during this time, obviously. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, no, not that. It was just a cold. This was literally like several years ago, and I was like, I just feel so terrible. And he's like, do you want to still audition? I was like, yeah. And I remember I read the first scene, and I was like, that wasn't very good, was it? And he was so nice. He's like, you don't have to read the second scene. And it wasn't like in a weird Hollywoody way, but he was just so nice. And he just knew that I was like so out of it that I was like, okay, maybe next episode. And that was like the only audition where I ever was that bad. And the casting director was like so nice, but it makes sense because you guys deal with medical stuff. And he's like, this poor actress has the worst case of a simple cold I've ever seen. And it's just, let's not make her do another scene. Oh God, that has nothing to do with anything, but I just felt like reflecting on that with you really quick.
I think it's funny. I mean, the hardest thing is really to get actors to say the medical lines. I mean, truly, when we do our sides, I'll have people contact me all the time to like throw in a couple just to see how they do.
I know it's people like you that like when I'm memorizing for an audition, I'm like, oh, how the heck am I gonna? This is a whole paragraph of like a medical journal right here.
Okay. I literally get calls from the actors any time of the day or night, and they're like, hey Michael, can you like pronounce this again for me?
Oh yeah, that would be me. I'd be like, can you take a voice note and then email it to me, and then I'm gonna replay it.
I've done it.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. That makes total sense. Looking back at your I mean, you always say you had a lot of teachers because you went to school for probably a decade. Do you keep in contact with any of your teachers? Are they very proud of you? Did you show them that you can do both? First of all, that must have been satisfying.
It was, my art professor in undergrad, she was such a huge support for me. I remember multiple times a week we would just go to dinner and I would just spend, because again, it's like completely different worlds and you kind of have to balance.
Did she get it though? Did she support both? Cool.
100%. And she still does today. I still get text messages like she'll read an article that was like whatever magazine. They're like, oh my God, I'm so happy.
Amazing.
Living your dream. But yeah, no, I keep in contact with a lot of my teachers, even from middle and high school. I was always that weird kid who just had crazy dreams, and
I love that.
Very blessed to be where I am.
Yeah, teachers are so important. And I mean, you guys were going to dinner, like you guys were friends. I love my teachers. I was like such a teacher's pet in school, not in a annoying way, maybe a little bit. But I just was always fascinated by my teachers and by my professors. And like in middle school and high school and in college, like I remember like having my graduation party after I graduated from university and caring more about, I was like, are my certain professors showing up though? Like I just really like teachers mean so much to me, which is part of the reason why I work with Great California, is because like I know how impactful teachers, professors, like those types of people in your life are. Especially if you're not, I mean, I'm fortunate my parents both supported me in my arts and my academics and everything, but a lot of people don't have that. And so, to have another like authority figure in life, for lack of a better term, with a teacher is really important. It's important to have people telling you like, no, you can do that, Like, I'm glad, I know that you had a lot of people saying, no, you can't have both. Unfortunately, you were like, no, I can. And you're very, very clearly minded, but it's nice that you also had a support as well.
You prompted a memory. I remember my mom when I was in undergrad, and I mean, I didn't take any summers off. I worked through every summer. I never really had vacation. I was always doing school. And she told me, I don't get why you're doing two majors. Like, you're literally killing yourself over these two majors. Why are you doing it? It's not worth it. And it's funny. I mean, she was actually an artist herself, but because she knew that I was going into medicine, and that's kind of the track that I was on. But I was like, no, like, I know that there's a purpose to this. And then after I started creating like the arts medicine organizations, creating the literary journals, I remember she called me one day, just like, I get it now.
Oh, cool.
And unfortunately, she passed away, so she didn't get to see this part.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But she would definitely be. We watched Grey's Anatomy throughout high school together. So.
Really?
Yeah.
My mom and I also watched Grey's Anatomy together when I was in high school.
Yeah.
It was every Sunday night, right? Originally, it was every Sunday night at 10, right after Desperate Housewives. Is that right?
Yeah. At one point, it was on Tuesdays. At one point, Sundays. At one point, of course, we're on Thursday.
I think we started watching it on Sundays. I think during that time, because I think we started watching Desperate Housewives, and then we're like, oh, we'll watch this other show too. And then we ended up getting more obsessed with Grey's Anatomy, and then would watch that. And then that would be the reason why we would turn on the TV.
Yeah.
Which, oh, that's so sweet. Oh, hi, California State PTA. But yeah, again, guys, go to, I feel like if you're watching, you probably do support arts in the schools and an arts education. And again, like, it's important to talk about, but it's important also to take action. And the cool thing is when you can take action, it only takes like 10 seconds. So in this case, that is the case. Terrible sentence. I have a literature degree. Gosh, whenever I screw things up like that, I'm like, this is the one thing I'm qualified to do, is to say words and write words. But go to, I pinned it in the on the comments, createca.org, and it's very easy. It's just right on the page. You sign the pledge. It literally takes like 10 seconds, and then we can see real change. And for those of you who didn't hear me earlier, it is statewide mandated to have a comprehensive arts education in California schools, but only 12%, literally 12% of California schools actually have that. And that is a staggeringly low number. And we need it. I mean, California's, I think it was last year, California's creative economy generated almost 3 million jobs, about 2.9 million jobs. And that's the other thing we talk, like, you know, you get into the workforce and you want to be prepared. Employers, there's so many jobs. I mean, of all states to only have 12% of schools that hit that mandate, it blows my mind that it's California, because it's Hollywood. It's California. I mean, this is where, you know, this is the glitz and the glamour. This is the movies and the
economy.
Yeah, it's like, it's the main part of our economy. That's what California has, like the 5th largest economy. Oh gosh, I shouldn't say facts, I don't know. But California has an economy that is comparable to most countries. So let me not say a fact I don't actually know the exact number to, but it's something incredibly high. And we need to make the kids in our state and the students ready for the jobs that are waiting for them. I mean, look at you. You came out into the world and you're like, I'm going to do everything. And you were prepared to do those things. And if you didn't have that education, you needed that education. You wouldn't have been able to, first of all, get the fellowship and then get hired permanently and then also be a producer. It's just really cool. I'm just nerding out over the fact that you're able to marry these two worlds together so wonderfully. But Michael, thank you. I just realized what time it is. You've given us so much of your time. Thank you for talking. This was so interesting. I feel like I want to just like keep asking you questions about what about when this happens, and then what do you do for this, like all these creative things. But again, everyone, please, if you haven't, after we sign off, go to createca.org to sign the pledge. Follow Michael on Instagram, and you're on Twitter too. I think on the Instagram live you can press your profile name or whatever, but it's Michael J. Metzner, right, is your profile name? Yeah, so go follow Michael, go sign the pledge. Thank you for watching. And Michael, thank you so much for chatting with me. You're such a fascinating person. I love it.
Well, thank you so much. Right back at you.
Thanks. Well, everyone have a nice Friday. Stay safe and sign the pledge.
Definitely. All right.
Bye, Michael. Bye, everybody. Oh, this happens every time. I can't sign off. Okay, there it goes. Bye.